A kidnapped girl signaled the bikers. They didn't think twice. The semi-truck's air brakes hissed like an angry snake as it rolled to a stop at the dusty gas station off Interstate 40, just outside Amarillo, Texas. It was one of those forgotten places where the neon buzzed half-dead and the only light came from a flickering, open 24/7 sign that lied more than it told the truth. Inside the cab, 14-year-old Mia pressed her forehead against the cold passenger window, tears carving clean lines through the grime on her cheeks. Her wrists were raw from the zip ties. Her voice was gone from screaming. For 3 days she had been trapped with a man who called himself Uncle Ray, a monster who smelled of stale cigarettes and cheap whiskey. She had one chance left. A line of motorcycles growled into the parking lot, chrome catching the last sliver of sunset. 8 of them. Big men in leather cuts, beards, tattoos that told stories most people were scared to hear. The patches on their backs read, Steel Reapers MC, Texas Chapter. To anyone else they looked like trouble. To Mia, they looked like hope. She banged her bound fists on the glass. Once. Twice. The third time she locked eyes with the rider closest to her, a giant of a man with a gray-streaked beard and eyes that had seen too much. He killed his engine. The sudden silence felt louder than the rumble. Mia lifted her hands, trembling, and made the tiniest motion, 2 fingers pressed together, then pulled apart fast. The universal sign the internet had taught a whole generation of kids. Help. I've been taken. The biker's face changed in a heartbeat. What was hard turned soft. What was dangerous turned deadly, but not toward her. He tapped the shoulder of the man next to him. Then another. Like dominoes, every rider turned toward the semi. Uncle Ray stepped out of the convenience store with a paper bag full of beer and beef jerky. He saw the bikers staring. He saw the girl in the window. His face went the color of old dishwater. He dropped the bag and ran for the driver's door. He never made it. The big man with the gray beard, everyone called him Prez, though his real name was Daniel Callahan, moved faster than any man his size should. One massive hand clamped around Ray's throat and slammed him against the hot metal of the truck so hard the side mirror snapped off. You put hands on that little girl? Prez's voice was low, almost gentle. The kind of gentle that comes right before a storm tears a house apart. Ray tried to lie. His mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. A younger biker, barely 30, with a patch that read, Prospect, and eyes already wet, yanked open the passenger door. He saw the zip ties. Saw the bruises blooming across Mia's arms like purple flowers. Something inside him broke wide open. Prez, he choked out. She's just a kid. Mia tumbled out of the cab and straight into the arms of a woman rider most people called Mama Bear, real name Ruth, a former Army medic who'd lost her own daughter to the system years ago. Ruth caught her like she weighed nothing, pressing Mia's shaking body against her leather cut that still smelled of desert wind and engine oil. I've got you, baby, Ruth whispered into Mia's tangled hair. Nobody's touching you again. Not ever. Behind them, Ray tried to scream that it was all a misunderstanding, that she was his niece, that he was taking her to her mother. The lies died in his throat when Prez pulled out his phone and showed the screen to the others. A missing person alert. Mia Reynolds, age 14, abducted from a mall parking lot in Oklahoma City 3 days ago. Amber Alert still active. Reward offered. Photo unmistakable. Ray pissed himself right there on the cracked asphalt. The bikers formed a circle around him. Not for violence, not yet. Just to make sure he understood the new math of the situation. 8 of them. 1 of him. A terrified girl now clinging to Mama Bear like a lifeline. Sirens in the distance. Someone inside the gas station had already called 911 the second the motorcycles rolled in like thunder. Prez knelt in front of Mia, his knees cracking. Up close he looked less like a monster and more like somebody's tired grandpa who'd spent too many years on the road trying to outrun his own ghosts. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Mia," she whispered. "Mia," he repeated, like he was memorizing it. "You are so damn brave. You hear me? So brave." She started sobbing then, big ugly wonderful sobs that meant she finally believed she was safe. The state troopers arrived to find 8 bikers standing guard around one crying teenager and one human piece of garbage face down on the ground with a boot between his shoulder blades. They took statements. They cut the zip ties. They wrapped Mia in a blanket that still smelled faintly of motorcycle oil and freedom. And then something happened that nobody expected. Mia wouldn't let go of Mama Bear's hand. Even when the social worker showed up, even when they tried to load her into the ambulance for the hospital check, she dug her heels in and screamed until Ruth was allowed to ride with her. The trooper in charge took one look at the situation and decided some rules were made to be bent. Later, in the fluorescent hum of the ER, while doctors checked for dehydration and worse, Mia told the whole story. How her mom's new boyfriend had sold her for drug money. How Uncle Ray was just the delivery man. How she'd spent 3 days memorizing every stop, every turn, waiting for the right moment. How she'd seen videos online about the hand signal and prayed, actually prayed, that somebody would know it. Ruth sat beside the bed and held her hand so tight her knuckles went white. When Mia's real mother finally showed up, high, twitchy, reeking of meth, Mia shrank against Ruth like a kicked dog. The mother tried to play the part, tears, apologies, promises, but the cops had already pulled her record. They took her out in cuffs before she ever touched her daughter again. That night, Child Protective Services tried to place Mia in emergency foster care 3 hours away. Mia looked at Ruth with those huge, bruised eyes and asked one question. "Can I go home with you?" Ruth, who had an empty spare room and a heart that had been broken for years, didn't even hesitate. Paperwork took weeks. Background checks. Home visits. Court dates. The Steel Reapers MCs suddenly found themselves scrubbing blood stains off their reputations and showing up in button-down shirts to testify about community involvement. Prez traded his cut for a blazer that didn't fit right and told the judge, in that same calm before the storm voice, exactly what they'd seen, exactly what they'd done, and exactly why this child should never spend another night afraid. The judge, a woman who'd seen too many broken kids, looked at the 8 bikers packed into her courtroom like they were ready to bench press the bench itself, looked at the stack of character letters from veterans groups and children's charities the club secretly supported, looked at Mia clutching Ruth's hand like it was the only solid thing in the universe, and made a ruling nobody saw coming. Temporary custody granted. Path to permanent adoption opened. 6 months later. A small house on the edge of Lubbock, porch swing creaking in the evening breeze. Mia, 15 now, hair growing back where they'd chopped it to make her look less pretty for the buyers, sat on the steps painting her toenails a ridiculous shade of purple while a 3-legged rescue pit bull named Lucky snored beside her. Inside, Ruth was burning spaghetti sauce because she still couldn't cook worth a damn, but the kitchen smelled like garlic and second chances. Out on the driveway, 8 Harley-Davidsons sat in a perfect line, chrome gleaming under the security light the club had installed themselves. Every Sunday they showed up for dinner, these big scary men who brought ice cream and bad jokes and let Mia beat them at Mario Kart because nobody had the heart to tell her they were letting her win. Prez pulled up last, as always. He killed the engine and just sat there a minute, watching the yellow light spill out the open front door, listening to laughter he never thought he'd hear in his lifetime again. Mia ran out barefoot and threw her arms around his waist. "Hey, kiddo," he rumbled, hugging her back with one massive arm. "Got you something." He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a tiny leather vest. On the back, in fresh embroidery, Steel Reapers MC, Little Sister. Mia stared at it, then at him, then at the whole row of bikers pretending very hard they weren't tearing up. She slipped it on over her pajamas. It swallowed her whole. It fit perfectly. Sometimes the heroes who save you don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather, ride loud machines, and have rap sheets longer than most interstates. Sometimes they're exactly who you need, exactly when you need them. And sometimes, if you're very, very lucky, they stay. Mia stood on the porch in her too big vest, surrounded by the family she chose and who chose her right back, and for the first time in her entire life she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. That, more than anything, was the real happy ending. If this story moved you even a little, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to remember there's still good left in the world. And if you're new here, subscribe, ring the bell, come be part of this family. Because every kid deserves a squad of angels in leather who'll burn the world down before they let anyone hurt them again. See you in the next one. Stay human. Stay kind. Ride safe.